I feel like that music's now settling into its stride in the first day of the festival. It now feels like a Saturday night bit of music. But I can see there are people watching. So hello everybody. This is Tom from Wisebartender. I am not Ed from Wisebartender. I know that you're all expecting him, but you've got me and Tom instead.
Yeah, sorry.
Wow, Tom, what's happened to your internet? Is it my internet? Who knows? Could be mine. All right. Are you back, Tom?
I'm here. Are
you back in the room? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Are you coming in, Fandango, or whatever it is? All right. We're all here again.
Welcome to Somerset bandwidth. Yeah.
No. I can tell you the East London bandwidth is just as bad. Right. Okay. So everybody, what we're going to talk about today is alcohol-free drinks. Some of you may know a bit about alcohol-free drinks. So we're not talking about soft drinks, which if you've not been looking for a while, if you've mainly been drinking and now think about not drinking, you might have suddenly seen there's a load of things called alcohol-free or the low and no drink space that has basically emerged in vengeance over the last 3 years, really. It's a new category of drinks, really, and just finding its feet. But it does mean that if you maybe tried to give up drinking 6 years ago, or like I did nearly 10 years ago, there was nothing to drink apart from a J2O when you went to the pub or a Beck's Blue. What you will find is there's now loads and loads of really interesting drinks. And so me and Tom thought we would take you around some of them. Tom, do you want to tell everyone about Wisebartender?
Yeah, so Wisebartender's just turned 4 years old. So what's that? Back in 2017, we launched with 15 different products. And so I guess the backstory to it is that my background is actually public health. So I'm not from the drinks industry or anything like that, but I kind of saw the need for us as a country, we needed to drink a little bit less. So whether that means you moderate down or people stop drinking, whatever that decision, it's a good decision people can make. But how can they make that decision without some good alternatives? And I went to the local supermarket and the selection wasn't fantastic. It's improved an awful lot since then, I would say. And I went online and I found that I could only buy drinks by the case. I found it really restrictive. So yeah, we set Wisebartender with 15 different drinks. And from that, in the last 4 years, it's just mushroomed to over 450. And there's new drinks coming in every week. It's just a really exciting place to be in whatever style drink you're looking for now. If it's usually alcoholic, I'm pretty sure we can find it alcohol-free.
But there's also some new things as well, which we'll talk about today. Actually, 2017 is the year that we did the first Mindful Drinking Festival, where I managed to scrape 20 brands together in Bermondsey Square in London, thinking, I think there's something here, let's do it. And it was absolutely packed. It was a mayhem from before the start to the finish. So to see how times have changed is really interesting. So I thought we'd go through things in a bit of order.
Yeah.
And I thought we'd start with wine today, because I think wine is the wine occasion is the category that's slowly coming into its own. People would have heard a lot about alcohol-free beers. But now things that fit in with that with food wine space in a large bottle to share are beginning to happen, so much so that we can do a wine club together, Tom. So that's been amazing, and it's been really opening my eyes about what's available. So I thought we would start. Now, Tom, tell us, I mean, in terms of alcohol-free wine, it's actually been around a long time. How is it made?
So there's a number of techniques. So all the drinks, a number of techniques. So with the wine, typically what it is dealcoholized. So it starts off a little stronger. So some of it is like the full ABV, and there's different techniques that are used to bring it down to that 0.5 or below level. The most common technique, I believe, is like the cone spinning technology. So essentially it's spun really fast and the alcohol spun out of it. And that preserves most of the flavor of the wine. But this year, it was 2020, 2021, the COVID kind of times has been really kind of developmental for wine. mainly because in South Africa there was a ban on alcohol. So all these wine producers, which obviously South Africa is known for, had to pivot and change. So we're seeing some really great innovation coming out in the wine market. It's just a really exciting kind of area of the alcohol-free world at the moment.
Yeah, and I think there's some things to say about alcohol-free wine because it tends to be the area people are most disappointed by. So there's a couple of things that you need to do if you're going to start looking for an alcohol-free wine for you. And one of them is to not try and compare it with alcoholic wine. With any alcohol-free drink, trying to make a direct comparison is a hiding to nothing because alcohol's got alcohol on it. It's a flavor enhancer, right? It makes things taste great. So see these things as drinks in their own right that may have the characteristics of drinks that you knew before. So give them a bit more of a chance. With wine, unlike beer, which is going from maybe 5-6% down to 0.5, wine is going from 12-13% down, which is a really big jump. So that's why you'll probably notice the difference. And also because what they have to do is take out the beers now are being made with lazy yeasts and other new yeast innovation. Wine has the alcohol taken out and then it has to have product put back in, which means that's often a grape juice or a verjuice, which actually also bumps up the sugars a bit as well. So you'll find they're probably a little bit sugary and a little bit sweeter. But that doesn't mean there isn't some good stuff out there. And I noticed, we had at the wine club last week, we had the McGuigan Zero Chardonnay, which I was really impressed with. It just reminded me, so much so that I've drunk it nearly all, but that it is a really oaky Chardonnay. It gives me all of those things that I remember from a Chardonnay. Now, I didn't drink any alcohol-free wines for probably my first 8 years of giving up drinking because there wasn't really anything. So my memory is probably a little bit more distant than some people. But, make sure it's properly chilled. Make sure you put it in a proper glass. Make sure you try more than once and give it more than one mouthful and give it a go. And you'll find that there's some really good ones out here. So the McGuigans, you've got all of the McGuigans, and I've been quite impressed with all of those.
Yeah, and I think what's really great with the McGuiggans is they're in the single serve bottles, so that means you can give it a try before you commit to buying a bigger bottle.
Yeah,
so that's a fantastic option. There's a few more brands doing that. So do check out the wine section on Wisebartender. We've got a number of single serve wines. And
McGuiggans are in one of the supermarkets as well, aren't they?
Yes, they are. So I think McGuiggans is in Tesco. They might be in some of the others as well. Yeah, I mean they're a popular alcoholic wine, so they've got those routes to market. So it's a decent alcohol-free wine. So they're going to be in those supermarkets as well.
Yeah, and before there was sort of only Iceberg, and then the Torreses were always in Waitrose. And actually, I think the things coming out, Torres used to be the one that I used to say is the best. And now I think there are things coming that knock that off its perch. Things like the Einswein Zero you can get in Waitrose. Yeah. But also, everyone's after the perfect red, right? And this is the best red I've tasted so far, which is Odd Bird. Have you tried it yet, Tom?
Yeah, I have. No, I did really like it, and I think I've got a top 4 reds in there.
Go on then, tell me what you think your top 4 are so far.
They change in order depending on my mood. So the Odd Bird red is in it, definitely. The Lindemans red just behind, I really like. There's a really good oakiness to it. I do like Portuguese style wines, and I think the Fonseca red is really good, and people who are sampling it are really giving some fantastic reviews. But the one that I usually do tend to go to is the Darling Cellars.
Oh, so I've got the Ariel here, which I think is not bad.
That is a good one, yeah, as well. If I had a top 5, that would sneak in.
What about the Carl Youngs? Because you don't have them yet, but they have been around a long time, the Carl Young wine. And Win Wines?
Yeah, we used to have Carl Young, actually. And no, they are a good wine. And I just wonder if some of the development is just passing them by a little bit. But they've brought out some more since I last tried them, so I might be doing.
So I've not tried them since things like this have come on the market, so I don't know how to compare them. I sort of feel like I need to sit down now and do a retasting with Christine and really work out where they all rank in quality. And red is the most challenging, everyone. So don't, again, you have to remember that, red is stronger than white. It's a far more complex wine. And so really recreating that experience is quite difficult. But, you know, I think the Odd Bird has done really well at doing that. And for me, that's because it's got a really good nose. The minute it smells like the cheap red wine that I may have drunk at certain, you know, things like the Mayor's reception in Islington when I was on the council, terrible cheap wine, then I can't go near it. So yeah. But so the red's a bit more of a challenge. When it comes to whites, what are your top whites?
I would go to the Darling Cellars for red, white, and rosé. I think they're really fantastic. The Ariel Chardonnay, I think's very good actually.
Yeah, I think the Lindeman's white is pretty good. We got that in the wine box in October. Out of their three, I think it's the better one. So
yeah, and
but
also
you prefer the red, you see.
Yeah, and the Cognato white I quite like.
I've got one of those in the fridge somewhere.
Yeah, well, Cognato, the other thing with Cognato that's really good is that they are all low sugar and fair trade. So, like you said about that sugar issue for some of the wines, I mean, it's not ridiculously high, but to have a low sugar offering is really good.
One of the people watching said they've been trying a lot of the alcohol-free wines recently and saying that they're really liking them and that they're really doing it for them. I have to say, I still prefer them now only with food, but apparently that's how you were meant to drink wine anyway. Mostly with food. Should we talk about, yeah.
I was just going to say really quickly, like with beers, I think you can dabble really easily between alcoholic and alcohol-free beers, for example, and your palate adjusts. With wine, you know, dabbling between alcoholic and non-alcoholic wine, your palate probably struggles. So if you're having a period of not drinking, like sober for October or dry January, then actually by the end of the month, you're probably going to be really enjoying those wines.
Yeah, they do take some getting used to. Remember, your palate changes when you change your drinking. So, you know, you do have to give things some time, and maybe you need to take a break from a category before you go on. The other is that sparklings de-alkalize a lot better. And there are some really good sparklings. I don't have any of them here because I've drunk them all basically, but Naughty is really good. Carlem is really good. What have you got? Have you got any sparklings there?
I didn't pick many up, so I feel really guilty now. So I went to the warehouse and just grabbed loads of different drinks, and there's always been, I should have got. So Scabby, I would say, is really good as well.
Scabby and Ray and Naughty are definitely punching well above their weight in terms of sparkling, and then the Odd Bird sparkling as well. They've got a few vintages on that, and again, that's been really amazing.
Yeah, and I picked up the Chateau Delish mainly because it's canned, and there's obviously a bit of a trend in the alcoholic category with canned wine and out and about. And if you're going somewhere where you can slip it in your bag or whatever, then it's a great option.
Yeah, definitely. You know, you don't know what. I often find that if I don't know what's going to be there at a party, if I'm going and I don't really want to carry lots of bottles in my bag, because I've done a lot of that, a few cans as a backup is a really good idea, and then you can take them home if you don't open them, right? So so the sparkling's worth trying. If you really want to join our monthly wine club, it's fantastic. Christine Parkinson, who runs it with me, is one of the country's leading experts in wines. The fact that she's doing this with us is phenomenal, and I'm learning so much from her about alcohol-free wines. And in that box, we also have things that are wine alternatives, because if we were to only go on the wines, I think we would probably run out quite quickly. But also because it's about the wine occasion. It's not about whether the drink is a wine. So I've got a few things to share here that you might not have so much of. So I've got 9 Elms, which I think is just beautiful. It's red, but it's not a red wine. It is makes great cocktails as well. And they call it a Velvin, which they're trying to create a new category name for it, because it's made from a mixture of, you know, vegetables and spices and things to create something that goes really well with food. If you ever have this with lamb with mint sauce, it's just, if you're like, this is amazing. And then I have it with something else and it tastes slightly different again. And it's a very, very beautiful drink.
Yeah, it's great with we've got a rhubarb and ginger tonic, 12 below 1, and it goes really well with that, like a little spritz style drink, and it's really different and quite warm as well as we get into these colder months.
It's really nice. Oh yeah, so it's really, and you can mull it. Yeah, so it's actually really nice to have a drink that's quite versatile, that you can use for cocktails, that you can lengthen, that you can use as a drink on its own, or that you can actually warm and make into a warm drink. And because there are loads of alcohol-free alternatives that sort of hit the the white space, but nothing that hits the red space. So I think that's where 9 Elms comes in. I've also got something that you've not had, which is Muri. This is their Passing Clouds, and they've got another one, which I can't remember the name of now, which is a reddish one, which we might put in our Christmas box. But this is just phenomenal. It's £20 a bottle. There's only one place you can buy it from in the UK at the moment. But it's blended different fermented drinks to create the flavour. So it's got kvass and kombucha and what's the other one? Kefir in it. So that's 3 fermented drinks that normally you would drink as solo products, all come together. And then it also has black currants and oak and chamomile and fig leaf and pine in it. And it's just multi-layered. It's just amazing. It tastes different on the mouth when you first drink it, and then different again as you take a little bit more, and then different again after that. It's just amazing. Oh, actually, here's the other one. Wait a minute, I've got it. Here it is. So that's Passing Clouds. That's right. And this is the Nula.
Okay.
There we are. And I'm waiting for an occasion to open them because they do feel really special. They've also got a cap on the top, a bottle cap on the top, like a bottle of beer, which apparently is the way that champagne used to have its tops done. So again, there are these sorts of things that are made from fermented ingredients that give you both a mouthfeel, but also that slight acidity that you would expect from a drink. And so you've got things like some kombuchas. Have you got any kombucha there? I know we want to come on kombucha separately, but kombucha fits in this space really well.
I picked up a couple. You can see that.
Got fixate and yeah.
And you and I kombucha, the lime and sea salt. It's just a fantastic flavour.
You've got light in there, but the ones that go better really in terms of the wine space, so you've got things like real kombucha, Holos, which you can now get in Marks and Spencer's, have actually got an oolong in a champagne bottle. So there are some really interesting kombuchas, which give them a go. Find the one that works for you. Every kombucha is different, and there are some that I prefer to others. And we'll come on to maybe kombucha a little bit later. But again, they can become that wine alternative, particularly one that isn't flavoured with lots of fruit, so it pairs well with food.
And try the same one a few times. I think I describe kombucha as the olive of the drinks world. I think naturally people have to have a few olives before they like them, and then you love them. And I think kombucha is just like that.
The other thing that I've got to try for the wine box is Ying have brought out a sparkling jasmine tea. And you'll also find that Fortnum & Mason have a sparkling green tea and others like that. And so there's definitely, tea is quite good because tea naturally has tannins. And so making a sparkling tea works really well. And again, it can give a lot of flavour without a lot of sugar. So again, do look around and then feel confident in taking something like that with you to the restaurant, so that you can go, okay, I'm going to drink my own thing, and this is what I'm going to have. So it doesn't have to be a wine alternative. I do know that some people, I spoke to somebody yesterday who found that the red wines were quite triggering for them, so they didn't go near them anymore. Cool. So should we go on to cocktails next and pre-made sort of drinks? Pre-made drinks are quite. Actually, before we move off of wine, you've got the Liars Classico there.
Yeah.
Again, it's not a de-alkalized wine. They have made something that creates a character of wine, but is there designed to be like a champagne. And me and Christine tried it at a trade show the other week, and Christine thought it was a really, really good product. It stands up in its own right. It does that sparkling occasion, and again in a can, so it means that it's quite easy to take with you to places, but also to make other drinks with, both cocktails and also some spritzes. So you could actually spritz, the 9 Elms with it, or a soda or a cordial with it, or some of those things.
Yeah, they've got a great number of cocktails with it. And when we come onto the spirits, I was going to talk about that actually.
Yeah. Well, should we talk about then those cans of cocktails and ready-made drinks that you can make?
Yeah.
I mean, before we move off of the Classico, I know that Liars will probably be really upset with this. So don't tell them, because they have their Italian spritz to make an alcohol-free Aperol, but you could also put it with the new Crodino, which again is, has been around forever. This is one of the things that kept me going when I first gave up drinking. The Italian, what they call sans bitters. So it's a very bitter drink, just like Aperol, and the Crodino is just like Aperol. And without these, I ordered them online from an online Italian deli. I'm not sure what I would have done, but lengthened with a sparkling wine or the Liars Classico, you've got an alcohol-free Aperol, which is just a lovely drink, and everyone will assume that's what you're drinking as well.
Yeah, they are great, the Crodinos. So alcohol-free cocktails. I'm trying to think. I think we've got probably about 30 different ones. Then I've just picked up 5 different ones. So there's a complete range of flavors. I mean, the one, I thought that once you've had a mojito, it's fantastic. But actually, there's about 3 or 4 different mojitos. Square Root, I really like their mojito. For me, it's quite limey, and it turns out I like a lime mojito, I've discovered. There's other brands like Savills and Noctels, and you'll find they all have a slightly different slant. And it's really opened my eyes to the different variants of one cocktail. So alcohol-free mojitos, fantastic. I
love Square Root because they've got far less sugar in than anything that you'd get normally as well. That helps.
Yeah, no, so I really enjoyed that. Sea Arch RTDs, ready to drink cocktail.
Ready to drink to everybody else. But I mean, nearly all the spirit producers are now bringing out their gin and tonic in cans, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. And it's such a fantastic flavour, the Sea Arch. That they use sea kelp within it, which gives a bit of saltiness, a bit of savouriness, which you perhaps you look for in a gin. So I really like that one. The other ones I want to talk about is the Savills, and I really like the Bellini. It's like my go-to Friday afternoon drink at the moment.
I never have you down as a Bellini boy. Who knew?
I never knew I was, but it's just so refreshing. When you just say, "Oh, I haven't drunk any water for a couple of hours, whatever," I find it so refreshing. And the cans just look fantastic.
Yeah, and definitely, and they're the sort of thing that you can have at home as a backup as well, so that if you're ever going out, they work really well. What else do you have in? I mean, there's a lot of cocktails, and everyone's bringing out their rum and cokes. So Strike and Liars and Clean Co have all got their gin and tonics, their rum and cokes, all of their signature serves in a can as well.
Yeah, I picked up the strawberry daiquiri from Noctels.
Well, I've never tried that one. We should put some Noctels in the Discovery box, I think.
Yeah, no, they're really good. They're really popular. They sell through really quick. They've got a mojito, and they've brought out a Mai Tai, and that was really strong tasting. Really strong Mai Tai flavour. It's really good.
Do you and is that highball?
Yes, yeah. So I thought I picked up the Cosmo. It turns out I picked up the pink G&T. I was trying to do a different one. But they've got 5, 6 flavors. They've got a mojito, pink G&T, standard G&T, a dram, an Italian spritz. Yeah, 5 or 6.
So these are great things to try for a couple of reasons. One is if you were never a cocktail person, which I'm not, it may allow you to work out which cocktail you like. So you can then start to seek out the brands that you like the most that make the cocktail that hits the spot for you. And of course, if you're not a cocktail maker, then actually, and I make terrible cocktails because it involves far too much concentration. And so it means that you've actually got something that tastes really nice already at home that you can have if suddenly people turn up like that. I think that might begin to happen again, or that you end up going out, that you've got something there for you. I know lots more people are far more interested in cocktails than I am, but they're really helpful. And then there are things that make great cocktail ingredients. Like you've got Jimba in. I mean, Jimba was the favourite drink of the festival in January 2020. Everyone who tried Jimba went, wow. Now it's a very concentrated ginger drink, but it makes beautiful cocktails, including a mojito, a ginger mojito. But it also, you can lengthen it. It's another one that you can drink warm and make a warm drink from it. Just, again, it's about having an ingredient in your home that you can, you know, make versatile and add to things?
We keep Jimber in the fridge, and quite often it gets dropped into different drinks if we're trying. So it works really well with wine. Just to drop into a wine just kind of dries up a sweet wine. Or my wife has it with like elderflower, and that just makes a fantastic mojito style drink. Really, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just so much out there. Oh my God, we could just talk about this for ages in terms of those ingredients. I think a really good cordial, like urban cordial as well, at home, having it in the fridge, low sugar, means that you've got something that can make cocktails or just a really long, refreshing drink. I'm hoping we're going to put urban cocktail actually either in a discovery box or a wine box soon. So again, that's something that we that I want to explore with people really. Where are we going to go next? So we can go to spirits then, because that's natural. You know, there are the cocktails that you can make from spirits. Tell me about the massive number of spirits that are on the market.
Yeah, it's really grown. So I remember when we first launched in, I think we took Seedlip on it at the Christmas, and obviously that, you know, Seedlip has very much been like, you know, the founding fathers, for want of a better term, of the alcohol-free spirit world, and they really kind of they made all the hard yards. But you know, we've seen a massive number of spirits follow suit. You know, gone are the days where we just took on every spirit because we needed a number on the shop. Now, there's so many we're having to be like really selective, and it's difficult. You know, as someone going out trying different drinks with spirits, because with a beer, it's £2 or £3. You don't mind really if it's not for you, but with a spirit, you're making a real commitment. So, you know, learning how to find a spirit that's going to suit your palate is really important. And what's really great is there's a number of producers now producing some miniatures. So that's a really great way to try what works for you.
So, yeah. And I think we should maybe split our discussion into clear spirits and aperitifs and maybe go through them like that. So in terms of clear spirits, you would have seen that, you know, Gordon's and Tanqueray and Sipsmith are now all on the shelf in your supermarket. They taste like their the alcoholic product in terms of their taste profile. What do you think about them? I mean, I preferred the Gordons to the Tanqueray actually, but it's only a taste preference.
Yeah, do you know what? They're both fantastic. And I first tried the Tanqueray when my wife ordered it in a pub, and I tried them out for a drink, and we called the barman over and said, "Are you sure you put the right one in this?" That's how convincing I think the Tanqueray is. I think it's fantastic. It's going to bring a lot of people to the marketplace. They're going to see a spirit that they're familiar with, and then once you've tried a Tanqueray and you know there's some good spirits out there, it's just finding the one that fits your palate. It's just fun. I think it's really good. We've seen these big brands step into the marketplace.
But what you will find is that there's a lot of so it's very clear that Tanqueray and Gordon's are a gin flavoured drink. They very clearly put gin flavoured on the front because there's all sorts of things about what you can or cannot call a gin. There are other clear spirits that replicate that gin experience, just like there are things that replicate the wine experience but are not gin. They don't have juniper in, but you would drink them like a gin and tonic. And this is where it all gets a bit confusing because the producers have to be careful not to call them gin and tonic, but they want to describe that you need to drink them like a gin and tonic. They're designed to go with a tonic. And that's where most of those clear spirits are. So Cedars, which is on the shelf, which was a new brand. It was one of the first on the supermarket shelves. I really, really like, and they're still quite. Do they still call themselves an alcohol-free gin? They were very bold about it at the beginning. That may have changed now, but you know they've got juniper in their products, so it gives you that gin experience. And again, it's a new brand, it's a new taste, but that's where they're going. What you got in your hand?
I've got a new Australian spirit, Brunswick Aces. So again, it's difficult to see, isn't it? But again, it's just like that you're talking about. It's like that nod to gin, but it's not necessarily a gin. I like the fact that it's a miniature. It's like a different shaped bottle. It's a bit different. And one of the things they want to do is break away from the traditional alcoholic bottle style, which is really interesting, I think. So I think we're going to see some exciting stuff from these guys in what they come up with. So we've only just got them in. But in fact, it's a miniature as well. Was a great entryway of trying it out.
Can you not do a box of all the brands that have now got miniatures so that you can do a tasting box so people can taste them, and also with an idea about how people go about tasting? Because if you begin to taste them without any, you don't go and taste a gin neat.
No.
And go, oh, I like that gin, I don't like that gin. You only have the gin once you've put tonic in it, then you make a decision. But somehow people think differently about the alcohol-free spirits and think they should try them neat, and if they don't like them neat, yet they're all designed to go with a tonic or a mixer. So
we do have 2 different selection boxes of the miniatures. So one is kind of that traditional gin flavor. So you've got like Warner's miniatures in there. You've got like a sea arch, which is quite ginny, but then we've also got like a botanical box. So it's got the things like the sea buckthorn in. So yeah, there's we've got 2 different versions. It was all in one box, but it got a bit pricey.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many out there now. You've got things like Pentire. You've got Liars have got, you know, their new pink London Spirit and their clear London Spirit, which, you know, is exactly the London Spirit nods to gin, but obviously doesn't say gin on the bottle. And then you can go through to things like Calieno, which is, you know, not like anything else. It's its own thing. And Ellie's made a really lovely sort of zesty and fruity, and now a dark and stormy type spirit, which isn't like a gin, but again, you drink like a gin. So
yeah. And I think within that kind of the white spirit or the clear spirit space, there's kind of a number of categories, and you've got kind of that spiced flavor, you've got a citrusy flavor, and you get that crisp flavor. So that even that category itself breaks down a little bit.
Just to let people know, if you want to ask questions, you can. I am looking at the questions that are coming through, so do ask if there's things that you want answered. Then you'd move along to the dark spirits. So people like Strike have got a rum, Clean Co have got a rum as well as a gin. Like I said, Calieno's got its dark and stormy, and they're really quite new in comparison, aren't they? It definitely started with the clear drinks.
Yeah, and the other one I mentioned is the Ish. So they got a rumish and they got a gin-ish. And they've used chili and within there, or a pepper extract.
Yeah,
and it gives just a little bit of a tickle at the back of your throat. So it's a little bit interesting.
It's that little bit of warmth. Yeah. And then you move on to things like that are a bit more like aperitifs. So Anon's just come out on the market. Then you've got things like Everleaf. And again, they are not like anything else on the market, but they are sort of a thick, more syrupy product that you would then lengthen and put in cocktails and would fit into that thing that you would have as an aperitif. And then Liars, of course, have got something in every category. I don't even have any of them left because we've got 3 more so much. They've even got an absinthe, but they've definitely got an amaretto, which is beautiful to make an amaretto. That amaretto sour is beautiful. So, you know, once you begin to delve, you realize you may not really have thought about your tastes very much before, because you would have gone for a brand, you would have drunk something in a pub, you would have gone for a brand, and you would keep going back to that brand. Now you're having to learn new flavors and the brands that go with it. And, you know, if I was in a bar and I saw Everleaf now, I'd be so excited. It's one of the most beautiful drinks that has ever been made. But it's not, you know, it's only new in our whole vocabulary, and you'll need to begin to find out what works for you. And you might not really have thought very much about what it was that you liked before. You just knew that you liked it, and now you have to put a little bit more thought in. Are there any aperitifs sort of that you like? Like the coffee liqueur is quite good for a cocktail.
Yeah, the coffee liqueur is really good. It's really popular this time of year. I also like the Wilfrid's, which is a bit more spritzy. The Campari style.
And Martini have brought out a Campari style. I shouldn't call it that really, but anyway, but that spritz lengthening alcohol-free drinks. You know, all the big brands are getting in there. Yeah,
definitely. Well, they've got to. You know, it's a booming area. More and more people. There's more reasons to not drink alcohol than there is. So, like, you know, if you're working, you're driving, whatever. You know, so people want to have a good drink. They don't just want the kind of a bog standard, like you said, like some fruit juice or whatever.
And then there's some what I would call new wave drinks, like you've got 3 spirits in, which has got active ingredients in. I'm not sure where I'd put Ganister. You don't have Ganister, do you?
We've just got samples of it, actually. I haven't opened it yet.
I really like Ganister. It's one of my favourites.
So is this a functional drink? Is this a functional drink?
I'm not actually sure it is. It's certainly got some very beautiful ingredients in it, like wormwood and stuff like that. So I wouldn't put it in the same as Three Spirits, which, you know, really goes full blast with the fact that it's got all these amazing adaptogenic mushrooms. It's got natural ingredients that have got caffeine in and all of that sort of stuff. The Nightcap is one of my favourites, and certainly in the first lockdown, I got through quite a few bottles of Nightcap in the evenings, feeling like I wanted to wind down and separate my work day and my home day. So they were great. So I'm not sure where I'd put Ganister in, whether it's a new wave spirit, because it's not like anything else. I think that's what new wave says to me. It's, you can't go, this is like this aperitif or like this spirit. It is just totally unique, and I really like it. And I think Ali really likes. My friend Ali's here. She's going to take the bottle off of me.
Yeah, I look forward to trying that. We just need to get around to do that. Yeah,
got a lovely bitterness. It acts a bit like some of the aperitifs, I think, but again, it's got a little bit of heat in it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's also exciting. I need to have another festival so people can come and taste all of these.
Yeah. I wish I brought that one back with me now.
Yeah, and I like it with tonic as well. Oh God, the spirits are just so exciting to talk about. They really are.
So many, yeah, and it's such a like, I think once you kind of get into that spirit world, there's so many paths to go down with it, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, people do ask, what's the point? Why bother? Why not just have a Coke in the evening?
Well, have a Coke in the evening then. But I think you would see, if you're having Coke every evening, I think you'd soon think, oh, maybe I'll have something different, or maybe I'll put something in that Coke.
Certainly, I think there's something about that shift in day that moves you from this is what I drink during the day to hydrate to what I do to sit in front of TV or to have a meal with a friend or do something special. It's nice to get a nice drink and put it in a really nice glass and consider that a treat. You are allowed to still have a reward even if you're not drinking, and that reward can be a very beautiful drink. You know, if I was to look around at the drinks that I have in the fridge, and we've got quite a lot of them in it, you know, there are some that I know I'm saving for special, like the Muri, because it's such an amazing drink. You know, some of the gin, I'm waiting till I get another friend to come along to spend the evening having drinks with me. But, you know, there are things that I know are for special and things that are just for, you know, sat in front of the TV, but feeling like I want to shift the day. And I think that's the point. You are allowed to have drinks that are nice. You are allowed to have something different that marks a changing day. You are allowed to have something that feels like a treat and a reward, but it doesn't, and that may even trick your brain into thinking that you're having alcohol, particularly during Sober October, which is if this is your first sober stint, or if you're looking to cut down, will really help do that. And it really does help. In behavior change terms, it's called substitution, and it works really well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think they've got their role, like whether you're staying sober or you're choosing to cut down. And, you know, when we get onto beers in a minute, I think, you know, we talk about a beer shandy, you know, particularly where you get sort of like an Adnams Gosha, where they've got an alcoholic and an alcohol-free. Well, you mix them together, you'll barely notice a difference, if at all. And you've just halved the number of units in that drink. Yeah,
and it's for me. There's also the fact that these are designed for adults, for an adult palate. They're not kids' drinks that are just, you know, packed full of sugar or with a very sweet flavor profile that are designed for the mass market. They're designed for you, right? So go for it. Try them, explore them. If I just I skipped over the kombuchas a bit because we talked about them in the wine space, but let me just talk about them now because I've got one kombucha here. So, you know, I find it really interesting that kombucha can be a replacement for wine, depending on which kombucha it is. It can be a replacement for beer. There are some, you know, that are made with sencha that can give you a far more lagery taste. There are some that can be just sort of a refreshing but healthier drink. So I've got Low Bros here. They're actually available in Sainsbury's. You'll find Remedy kombucha in a lot of places as well. Just discovered there's a shop up the road that sells Remedy kombucha here, which I'm really pleased to have someone nearby that sells kombucha. I still prefer an unflavored kombucha, but I'm a bit weird like that because for me it's like an alcohol-free cider, a really good kombucha. So So that's a drink. But, you know, kombucha is a live product. It's made using techniques that have been around forever and ever. I don't want to go into the technique, but it's basically a very sweet green tea that has a SCOBY, a living organism like mushroom that metabolizes it and creates a kombucha. And so it's a health drink as well, which is why you've often found it in the health food shop. And those things that have gone through natural fermentation naturally give you a palate or a taste that you quite like. My favorites is a shrub.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure if you've got the non-such there, but you know, shrubs were what you drank in America in the 20s during Prohibition, because they are basically drinking vinegars, which it sounds really horrible, right? But it's that acidity from the vinegar stuff, the vinegar taste, that gives you that feeling of it being an adult drink. In the same way as, you know, when you've got a wine that's gone over a bit, it tastes very vinegary. These things are very closely related. But you can have a shrub that is non-alcoholic. You can have a kombucha that is non-alcoholic. You can also, those two things can also become alcoholic if you leave them too long. But that's why they work in this adult alcohol-free space.
Yeah, definitely. And it's finding what works for your palate, isn't it? So
don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to experiment. Yes. Tell us about your cider, Tom, because cider's a category for me. But
yeah, so cider, yeah, as you probably hear from my accent, I'm in Somerset in cider producing world, and yeah, we really enjoy our ciders, and alcohol-free cider is an area that's really kind of close to my heart, actually. And there's some great ones out there, but actually there's not very many. So I think last year there was about 8. So we got together with a local cider maker.
And a lot of the ciders that are on the market hit on the fruity cider note, don't they? Really, as well.
Yeah, and I'm all down for a fruity cider. I do like a fruity cider, but for me, it has to have that kind of tang of apple still in it at the end. And there's very few that do that. So for me, that's what I look for. But, you know, if you love a fruity kind of cider where the fruit comes through, then there's quite a few out there. This is the one we made with a local cider maker, Crafty Nectar. And it's just won the International Cider Challenge and awarded best alcohol-free cider in the world.
Who are you competing against? Do you know?
No, I don't know. No, I got sent an email with saying yeah, well done.
But you don't normally know who you're competing against, so that, you know, that's not unusual. So, but yeah, it's Thatcher's have got one. There's long been one by Weston's and Smash Cider.
Yeah, and I've also got the Sheppies. So another, I really like the Sheppies and the Smash. They're really good. The Thatcher's one's really good. It's got a little bit more of a aromatic flavour, I would say, to it. Almost hinted towards there's a slight perry note to it. So again, ciders are such a big kind of category, cider, in so many flavours. In the alcohol-free world, we're kind of constrained to just a few variations of it. So I'm really hopeful we get a few more variations of alcohol.
It definitely needs to run to catch up, doesn't it? So the cider a bit. But like I said, kombucha for me, a really good kombucha really fills that gap. So now we're left with beer. We deliberately left beer to last because what happens is we end up talking a lot about beer and then we never have time for anything else. So now we can actually, you know, beer's an important category. It's the hero of alcohol-free. Our research shows that actually women in particular who drink wine, when they go alcohol-free, switch to beer. And I'm testament to that, actually. I never drank beer when I was drinking. Now I absolutely I don't drink alcohol-free beer very often, but when I do, it's when I'm out, it's on social occasions, it's often when I've got a meal, and it suddenly feels like something that I've got for a special occasion, which for something that most people just drink all the time is very funny. I've only got 2 with me. I've got these 2.
Oh, I've got some snap then. Yeah, so I've got here the drop bear stout behind me there. I've got the Lucky Saint, and I've drunk that Lucky Saint while we've been talking.
I mean, beer's doing so well. So, and in every style of beer, there is something. There are lots of IPAs. There are.
Should we go light to dark?
Yeah, do it. take us light to dark.
Well, I'm going to stay. So first one I was going to talk about is binary, because we've talked a lot about wines as well, and we're going to talk about beers, and this sits somewhere in the middle. Now it's a table beer, and it's made with like champagne yeast, and I really enjoy this. It goes fantastically with food. It's got a sour note to it. It really kind of, tantalizes your taste buds. I really enjoy this.
We put it in the first wine box as a wine alternative, and I've been to a couple of very fancy pants restaurants where they've served that as one of the pairings with the meal, and I've shared a bottle with two of us. You also don't have to have a whole bottle of beer. You can share a bottle like you would a half bottle of wine with a meal. But yes, binary is not only great as if you don't drink beer and you've never really drunk it and you don't really like the bitterness, then definitely binary would be one for you to try. And it's also a very environmental product, so I like that too.
Yeah, no, definitely. I guess the other thing, we talk about Lucky Saint in lagers, but actually before that, I want to talk about it's a wit style beer. So it's an American beer, Syria, and there's a very good reason I'm going to talk about this one. It's because of it's not a flavour for everyone, so it's like coriander and orange peel. So it's a very unique beer flavour, but what it's got is fantastic body. And what you mentioned about lazy yeast, but we're seeing brands really experiment with the yeast to get that body. About 18 months, 2 years ago, the criticism of alcohol-free beer was, it's a bit thin, or some of them are a bit thin. In the last 18 months, 2 years, I think there's a good number of new beers that have come through that would really challenge that statement. And this is an example of it. So again, the flavour might not be for you, but the body is fantastic, I think. And another company, Sheep and Wolf's Clothing, a British brewer, they're playing with the yeast. They're getting some really thick alcohol-free beers as well.
And I mean, I must say that if you're looking to cut down, then lowering the strength of your drink is another way to do it. And there are 250 low alcohol beers in this country produced by different craft beer brewers. So I know we've got alcohol free only in this particular webinar, but if cutting down from 5% beer to 2.5% beer is what you want to do, then do that. So Lucky Saint, and what's the other one you've got there? You have to move the opposite.
Mash Gang.
Wow.
So these are two of my favourite lagers. So I've drunk a Lucky Saint already, and so we ran Wisefest in the summer, which was a bit of a pop-up festival, or a bit of a pop-up bar, sorry. But we had this on tap, and I fell in love with Mash Gang Stoop. It's a lager. It's an American Pilsner. I don't really know what an American Pilsner should be, but it's got a bit of that thickness. The flavour's a bit alternative. And for me, it's a brand that if you're into alternative beer styles, it's a brand to look at, I would say, Mash Gang.
Yeah, you keep talking about those. Lucky Saint is now one of the biggest selling alcohol-free lagers. I'm finding it in so many places, and it really is exceptional. Not just because they sponsor the festival, because I'll also tell you that Big Drop is exceptional. They've got some really great craft beers. Their stout was the thing that, when I first started Club Soda, we used to do tastings for pubs and bars at pub watches. And the bar staff used to walk away from the table when I said we've got a tasting. And then I would shout at them, and here's a stout that won silver in the World Beer Awards against a full-strength stout. They would all stop in their tracks and turn around. Such a game changer. So we'll come on to stout in a minute, but it's really important to know that, Infinite Sessions and Big Drop and others really, worked really hard to create a really good quality product and raise the bar.
I wanted to talk about next, get onto pale ales.
Yeah.
And so these are some that I pick out. So the Vanna's Organic Pale Ale. I think the ale category, that cask beer flavour, is something that's lacked a little bit. There's only a few out there which can kind of say that they've got a nod towards that. I think this one has, and I also really love Low Tide Broom. So Broom's a Belgian style beer, but if you were to call this Low Tide Brown Ale, it'd probably be, people would recognise it straight away. And if you poured that into a glass and said it came out of a cask, you couldn't doubt it. So I think that's a fantastic cask style beer, and that's a good pale ale. Really quickly, two local beers to us here in Somerset. Buckham and Bristol Brewing Company.
Oh, I haven't seen the
Fantastic.
Buckham one.
Really good. Interesting. They launched it only on draft in 8 of their pubs, and then they've bottled it afterwards. I thought it was really interesting, but it is a really good. It uses New Zealand hops. It's a really different flavour profile from other IPAs. I really enjoy this one.
I'd like to know how their draft went, actually. So you're beginning to get lots more alcohol-free beers on draft. Certainly, Big Drop, Lucky Saint. We went to the theatre last week and they had Lucky Saint on draft. Heineken is coming in a new draft system soon. I mean, that's really exciting for it to be on the front of the bar.
Yeah, definitely. A few darker beers here I want to talk about. Another sort of segue into it. The Unlimited IPA actually comes out as quite a dark beer, but it's a lovely pale ale, but it does look quite dark. But when you talked about Big Drop and the stout, what I'm drinking right now is the Hazelnut Porter. And about a year ago, for a bit of fun, they ranked their own beers. I think they had 20 something they'd ever made, and this came out bottom. And I had to message, say, what's going on here? I love it. And it's got chocolate, hazelnut notes. I
never knew I liked stout, because I always thought it was like Guinness, and Guinness tastes like spoons to me. And then I tried the Big Drop stout, and I realised that, wow, it goes well with chocolate, and anything that goes well with chocolate is amazing in my book. I use a stout as a dessert wine. That's basically what it is for me. But actually, out of the Big Drops, the brown ale is beautiful. It's like a caramel flavour. And I've got a can that, again, if you talk about drinks that I save for special occasions, the Big Drop brown ale goes there for me. So,
yeah, and it's a fantastic story. They actually made it for a dementia unit in Swansea for the patients to be able to, obviously, when they're familiar with older memories, to be able to have that kind of familiarisation. So that story behind it is really nice.
Who knew?
Yeah, and what I've also picked up is a German beer. So German, fantastic brewing heritage, and their alcohol-free beers are fantastic. And for a long time, they were leading the world in alcohol-free beers. I think we would challenge that now, but in Britain. But this coffee porter is fantastic. If you move into these colder months,
maybe we should have a competition between the German and British beers, like a head-to-head. Germany versus Britain, recreation of the 1966 World Cup, whatever.
We've
got World Cup coming up. Maybe we should do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, they've got some fantastic beers over in Germany. There's we just took on new ones called Kaiserdom, and the cans look awful. They look like, you see them scattered around the park after some kids have been drinking or whatever the next morning. But the beer is really beautiful. They've got a lager.
And I'm also, I love Drop Bear beers as well. So they're the only Welsh beer that I know of, I think. But they're probably not.
Tiny Rebel have brought out a few.
They have. But these guys are wonderful. And their Bonfire Stout, we're about to move into the season where this beer comes into its own. It does.
Yes,
it is smoky.
I love a smoky stout, and for me, Drop Bear Stout made me realise that there is a craft stout world. Like you said, people tend to think stout, they think Guinness or Murphy's or Caffrey's, and they're all good drinks in their own right. And actually, we should talk about the alcohol-free Guinness in a moment as well. But this made me realise that there's different flavour profiles in stouts. So thank you, Drop Bear, for that.
Talk about the Guinness then. I've not tried it yet.
So obviously, it is really good. I think pretty much like 90% of people who have it think it's a really good drink. It's very close to its alcohol cousin. It's maybe tastes a little like a touch sweeter, but interestingly, it's low sugar and it's only 100 calories a can. So it's not a bad drink for you. It's got the widget in there. It's got the, you pour as white and then you see the black. It's got everything you want from a Guinness.
That's amazing. And I mean, that's another important thing to say. When I speak to people, for me, alcohol-free beer is the healthiest thing you can drink in the pub next to water, right? 3 ingredients, no added sugar, lower in calories. And so if you've not been into alcohol-free beers, then do start, what I've learned from alcohol, I can hear your dog, Tom. What I've learned from alcohol is that you can learn to like everything, because we learn to like alcohol. So now that you're alcohol free, your palate changes and you can develop an appreciation for all sorts of drinks. And it's been a great gift for me to learn about and appreciate alcohol free beer.
Yeah, and I was just looking very quickly. So, with the exception of 2 of the porters, every beer I've shown you is low sugar.
Yeah.
And I think that's just fantastic. Yeah.
So I think we should leave it there, because we're nearly coming up to the hour, Tom, because you and I are doing what we do very well, which is we talk about drinks. So, but if you haven't looked yet, do have a look at Wisebartender and see if you can get yourself a mix box. If you're not in the UK, then there is actually a list of other retailers we've got on our website, which I will share with everybody on the site. So there are a growing number across the world: Germany, Ireland, America. The alcohol shops in places like Sweden and Finland are now stocking good range of alcohol free. So you can begin to explore and get excited about them. It was getting excited about finding new alcohol-free drinks, which was like, looking for needle in a haystack when I was giving up. That also helped me, enjoy the process of giving up. And so, you'll find some things that you don't like, and then something will appear and you will be blown away.
Yeah, definitely. And one last plug I want to just give is, here I've got our Advent calendar box, and that is a great way of trying new drinks. So we've managed to work with some of the brands, and it's just £40, and you get 24 drinks. There's 2 versions: a beer version, a sweet version. And the sweet version's even got like 20 centiliter bottles of spirit in it and all sorts. It's a really great way of having some fun in the run up to Christmas and finding some new drinks. And then, alongside that, like you said, we've got the Club Soda Discovery box, the Club Soda Wine box. It's just, I think it's really exciting to get things through your door and maybe be introduced to drinks that you wouldn't necessarily pick yourself. So I think it's just, hopefully we try and give you some ways to try and access some different drinks.
Brilliant. Well, your dog is definitely upset about being left outside now, Tom. So I'm going to end the webinar and share it with everybody, and then see you all soon. Right, I'm going to end.
Thank you.